Brother Johnny Groove 19 Promotions, Manning, South Carolina. Thanking everyone for tuning in to this installment of Telling It Like It Is, the 19 Report. As promised, I actually promised someone that I would come on with a commentary about Thanksgiving. I was asked a question I was asked the question in Walmart in Manning, was I ready for Thanksgiving? And my response to the person was, which one? Which Thanksgiving are you referring to? And the person happened to be a cashier. She was Caucasian. And she said, what do you mean? Which one are you referring to? There's only one. I told her, no, there are several, but there's one that you all were taught about, and it's a lie. So I was talking to her about it because actually she was listening. And because she was listening, we talked a little bit, but the line was being held up. And I told her about my broadcast, the 19 Report on YouTube, and that I would try my best today before tomorrow to get on a commentary talking a little bit about the origin of Thanksgiving. So I want to go right into that. But first of all, to all of those listeners on YouTube, there are 750 listeners on YouTube. I really, really need your support. As you know, you can watch a video for 30 seconds and it would be counted as a watch, as a click on your video. Most of you, unfortunately, are either just looking and clicking away, but I need more people to watch it at least 30 seconds of the video. And that will help in solidifying a spot for us on YouTube, building our subscriber base, and then getting us to our desired number, our focus number of at least 1,500 subscribers. So I'm asking for your help. Just subscribe to our channel at the 19 Report or / Brother Johnny on YouTube. And also, I'll be sending this to Facebook. So to the Facebook viewers, we will be on live. And when we're on live, we've gotten at least 125 viewers, and that's very good. And I appreciate that. I hope that you will continue to watch our commentaries, and I pray that they are beneficial in some way and that we can separate the self from what's being said. If you don't like me as a person, that's fine. But if the message is the truth and you find it to be the truth and good for all people, then I ask that you share it without bias. So let's get right into what I was talking to the young lady about in Walmart and what was being given to me as I was coming home preparing to talk about it. It won't be very long. Um, and I hope that we would share this information with our children, because the key to this is the key to um, what we're trying to do with the 19 Report is not to fight a physical battle out in the street revolution, but the revolution starts in the heart, the soul, and the mind. Once you set your mind on something and you say to yourself, this is who I am, this is what I want to be, this is what I desire, then God backs that desire if it is the right thing. And if it is opposite of God, then the devil backs that desire. And when Satan backs your desire, it appears as if though the same things that God can give you, Satan is giving you, but Satan is giving it to you too fast and based upon a lie. And that lie is what has carried us to this point. So we're trying to dissolve the lie. And Thanksgiving and the reasons we celebrate it are lies. Now, I told her that there were two Thanksgivings, and there's one that I don't mind celebrating, and there's another that I abhor. I hate it. I I feel very disheartened at the fact that people don't want to know the truth about this Thanksgiving. So now the Native Americans were here before the Mayflower. The Native Americans were here before Christopher Columbus. This is all true. You look it up for yourselves, but the history books has taught that Christopher Columbus discovered America. Christopher Columbus was actually looking for India or the Indies, and since he saw some people where he accidentally landed, he said, these must be Indians. And this is the beginning of the lie. Now, before Christopher Columbus ever set sail, the place now called America was occupied by Native Americans or native people. When Columbus set sail looking for India, as I said before, he stumbled upon this occupied territory. And rather than say, oh, we are off course, he called the place that the people that he saw, Indians. So Christopher Columbus is on the boat, people are on the land. They are already occupying the land. You don't discover something that someone already has occupied. You are in actuality a guest in their land. Now, because of all of the secrets and lies, we think the Indians from India who come over here and open up hair shops, they open up liquor stores, and they open up convenience stores are the actual Indians. They are not. The Native Americans who occupy this territory before the white man stole it are the original. So when you look at these dark-skinned people, how old are you, my friend? Or you, like my friend, my brother? These people, they are not the original Native American people, but we take them to be the Indians. So we say the Indians got the corner store, the Indians got the liquor store. These are not the Indians who occupied this country prior to Christopher Columbus. I want to get that clear first. Now, we are taught in Islam, as taught by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, that the Native Americans are our brothers. When we say that there are 19 million Black people in America, we include the 2 million Indians because they are our brothers. So that's 19, 20, 21, which makes it about 21 million. I may be off on the number, but they are our family. Now, I want to run some pictures of Black Indians and our connection together. As these pictures roll, you will see Indians, Native Americans, and Black people. Now, there was a period where Native Americans enslaved Black people, but not under the atrocious, barbaric, murderous nature of Caucasian people. We were family, and we are family, and we are taught by the teachings of Elijah Muhammad that we are family. So when I asked her about the 2 Thanksgivings, there is one that I would celebrate, but the one I'm going to tell you about first is the one that no Black or Indian, Native American, or anyone, in fact, should celebrate. Now, we're taught in Islam that by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad that the Native Americans are our brothers and that we were separated from them because they rebelled against the laws of God first. But we were not far behind them because we rebelled as well. And our rebellion sent us into the jungles of Africa. And in the jungles of Africa, we began to grow this knotty peasy hair. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches that the only original hair we have is the hair that is now our eyebrows. That's the hair that the Native Americans had. Long hair that went all down their back, just like their eyebrows. Those are our brothers. Now, they sinned and were rejected. We sinned and were rejected. Now, they were sent from the east to this part of the world in the west to live out life the way they desired to live it. Not long after, Christopher Columbus and his murderous clan stumbled upon this area in the west that was occupied by the Native Americans. Now, the Native American people were doomed to die at the hands of Christopher Columbus. It was written. It had to be so. But the Native Americans are just like Black people today who want to be friends with everyone, and we put our guards down and we end up being enslaved over and over and over again and murdered in the process. Now they let them in, and that was the biggest mistake they ever made. Not all Native people wanted to let the pale faces in, and that's what they called them. They called white people pale face. So the natives who lived in different tribes and families began to fight amongst each other. Now, they had big bickering and skirmishes prior to that. But when the white man came into play, that was war. Some of them even sided with Paleface, what they called him, to win against other tribes. The story of Pocahontas is the story of a Native American girl who was an Indian princess at a young age, but allegedly fell in love with a John Smith, Paleface, and eventually sold out her entire tribe for the affection of these white people. This is what the Native Americans did not want, and this is why they did not want Caucasians in their tribes. Now, the two Thanksgivings. We're almost finished already. That's great. Now, the first one is the one that, well, the white man is celebrating. And he is celebrating the murder and the massacre of Native American tribes all over the world, and proclaiming that their victory over Native Americans would be celebrated every year. Once they annihilated the Native Americans in a particular part, they would celebrate that annihilation and make it a day of celebration, and they would call it a day of Thanksgiving. So they are giving thanks for murdering our brothers, the Native American people. They would first label them, the Native Americans, as savages, as they have labeled black people as savages. There was even 3 Caucasians, women, who just said it's about time that Michelle Obama got out of the White House because we are tired of seeing an ape with high heels. This is their nature. And Donald Trump is bringing out that nature of evil and hatred that they hid for so long. Now they feel they're free to bring it out. So they hid their nature from most of the Native Americans, but some of them were wise enough to know that these people were up to no good. Now they labeled the Native Americans as savages so that they could justify killing them. So now black people, black boys are being labeled as savages and shot down in the street to very little outcry in the justice system. When Christopher Columbus stumbled upon them in the West, thousands of his people died from sickness and starvation because they didn't know how to hunt, they didn't know how to cook, they didn't know how to fight off illness, they didn't know how to farm. Now, even my 10-year-old son on last year in his history lessons was taught this about what you call the Pilgrims or Christopher Columbus. They were not accustomed to this part of the land. They didn't know how to plant, when to plant, what to eat, how to eat it, how to cook the food, how to season the food. But when they stumbled upon this place in the West, and the natives who were on the land decided to take them in and teach them the ways of the land. Now, the Native Americans taught them all of this, and once they got on their feet, I'm talking about the Caucasians, their true nature began to surface, and they murdered, they enslaved, and they tortured the Native American people. Columbus brought disease on his ships. He brought rats and other illnesses on his ships that did not plague the Native American people until they got here. And these so-called pilgrims went to the point of, and this is a fact, putting smallpox in blankets that they gave to the Native Americans and wiping out countless tribes with their disease. So one Thanksgiving is based on the pilgrims and their bloodthirsty lust to take over someone else's land. This is the main one. And this is the one that I do not celebrate, will not celebrate, and pray to God for forgiveness for ever celebrating it in my ignorance. This is an abomination, this day called Thanksgiving, and what it represents to our people, the Native Americans. And I want to read something to you real quick. 2 excerpts from writings about the origin of Thanksgiving and how it pertains to us. Now, this is a gentleman who's writing in the Huffington Post. He's a black man, and his name is Nickel Breed Love. And he's writing about his genetic connection to Native American people. And he's writing about discovering the origin of Thanksgiving in his studies and why he will no longer celebrate this day. And he gives it a very clear definition of it. I want to read it. It's only 3 paragraphs. He says, I learned that in 1637, the body of a white man was discovered dead in a boat amid settlers, which we tell our children were God-fearing Gentiles, sharing-kind pilgrims, invaded a Pequot village. This is the Indians. Pequot. They also set the village, which included many children, on fire. Those who were lucky enough to escape the fire were systematically shot, hunted down, and killed, while many, including historians, still debate what exactly happened this day. Also known as the Pequot Massacre, it directly led to the creation of Thanksgiving. This is what the governor of Bay Colony had to say after the massacre. Now, after the massacre of the Indians, the governor of the colony said, a day of Thanksgiving, thanking God that they had eliminated over 700 men, women, and children. Now, William B. Newell, a Penobscot Indian, former chairman of the anthropology department at the University of Connecticut State, gathered in this place of meeting. This is him talking, William B. Newell. And he's saying, gathered in this state of meeting, they were attacked by mercenaries in English and Dutch. The Indians were ordered from the building. As they came forth, they were shot. The rest were burned alive in the building. The very next day, the governor declared a Thanksgiving for the next 100 years. Now, Thanksgiving Day, ordained by a governor, was in honor of the bloody victory, thanking God that the battle had been won. When I finally found out, this is the gentleman talking, the origin of Thanksgiving, it made me nauseous. Never again will I celebrate a holiday I know nothing about until I investigate its origin. I am very thankful, pun intended, that I learned about the origins of this holiday. It is a reminder that history can be rewritten, and if told enough times, eventually becomes the truth. People always tell me to forget the past. Listen to this quote. I should just let it go and move on. But why do people of color always have to forget? Would you tell a Jewish person to forget about the Holocaust and just move on? Would you tell the families of those who lost their lives on 9/11 to just forget about it? So why are our tragedies forgettable and others are not? Talking about the death of Indians and the death of slaves. I will never forget. I will always honor those who lost their lives unjustifiably. So when you sit down to dinner this year, look at your family, serve the food, and tell each other what you are most thankful for. Think about the origins of Thanksgiving. Think about the countless Native Americans who lost their lives so you can carve a turkey and get the best deals on Black Friday. Say a prayer for them, especially the children who died simply because of the color of their skin. Now, this is out of the Huffington Post, and this is a writer, Nicole Breedlove. And this has actually gotten over 4.7 million hits in the last few years. This is talking about the massacre of Native American people. And on about 5 years ago, I wrote an article in my blog, which I can't find all of a sudden, but the article was entitled No Thanks to Thanksgiving. And in that article, I went into detail of how after killing the women and children who were coming out of their worship service, the children of the Caucasians were taking the heads of the babies, the Native American babies, and using the heads as soccer balls, kicking the children's heads around, playing with their heads. And this is what we are giving thanks for. Now, I want to read one more. In their victory, the settlers launched an all-out genocide against the remaining Native people. The Massachusetts government offered 20 shillings bounty for every Indian scalp and 4 shillings for every prisoner who would be sold into slavery. Soldiers were allowed to enslave any Indian woman or children under 14 they could capture. The praying Indians who had converted to Christianity, which was Christopher Columbus' religion, and fought on the side of the European troops, were accused of shooting into the treetops during battles with hostiles. They were enslaved or killed. Others, peaceful Indians of Dartmouth and Dover, were invited to negotiate or seek refuge at trading posts and were sold onto slave ships. Now, the ones who invited Christopher Columbus into their clan were later accused of doing something nefarious. They were guilty, so they put them into slavery anyway. True proof positive that you can never trust your enemy. Once an enemy is always an enemy. Now, in college, uh, we had to read a book, and this is when I first started to look deep into the Native American heritage. But in college, we had to read a book entitled The Trail of Tears. And I never read a book so horrific in my life besides Uncle Tom's Children that pertain to slavery in the South. But white people actually, under the guidance of Andrew Jackson, the president, decided that the Indians who occupied all of this land, that they were going to take the land from the Indians, and they made a law that said all of the Indians had to move or up into the North Dakota, into the cold areas, when they were used to living in the warmer areas. So over 100 million Indians died during it. It is reported during the Trail of Tears. Just as many black people died as well during slavery. That gave me a different perspective of this day that we call Thanksgiving. Now, if you go into the store and you buying turkey and dressing and plum pudding and plum pie, and plum pudding and pumpkin pie and all of these things that relate to this day called Thanksgiving, the way it was presented to us by Christopher Columbus and his band of thieves, then you are worshiping the murder of your people. And if you're white and you're worshiping this, then you are in agreement to the murder of a people so that you can take their land. And this is something that is continuously going on in society today. You see land that you want, you take it. Now, in North Dakota right now, today, 2016, those same Indians that they threw onto that land that they thought was nothing, now they want to run oil pipelines through that land. It's not being shown on the news. But if you go on the internet, you will see that they are at war with the Indians again. They are sicking dogs on them. They are throwing bombs, stun grenades in the crowds on them. They are spraying water cannons at them because they're blocking the border. The Indians are saying, hell no, you didn't take we ain't giving up this. And they even went so far as to shoot up in the air and said that the Indians were shooting at them in order to justify shooting at the Indians, at our Native American brothers and sisters. This is happening right now as we speak. So on tomorrow, they will still be fighting in North Dakota. Look that up and ask God for forgiveness for the sins of those of us who keep in our minds and in our hearts that this day we call Thanksgiving is a legitimate day. We are in love with a lie. And if you are in love with the lie, then you love the liar. And if you love the liar, then you are no good to God. Now, certainly I couldn't tell the lady all of that while I was in Walmart, but I'm hoping that she will watch this. And she said that it would be fine to say her name, but I won't say her name because she doesn't realize really how people get very uptight when you talk about changing the American way. Either you are with them or you're against them. So when you start talking truth in terms of what has been inflicted upon you and your people, then you become a problem. So in South Carolina, I want to point out in closing, I want to say this, and then I'm going to point this out, and then we're going to close. The second Thanksgiving is being grateful to God for allowing us to make it this far, in spite of the fact that we don't deserve it, in spite of the fact of the slavery and the atrocities that we've suffered and had to endure. We're still here, the Native Americans and the blacks. The second Thanksgiving is based upon family, friends, and loved ones who realize what a tedious journey it has been. We come together because usually this is the only time we can come together because the boss give us a day off. So we got a day off. We're going to do something. We're going to get together with the family. We come together in truth And that means that we start to remember what happened to our Native American brothers and sisters, who is the cause of it, and what can be done about it. Now, what can be done about it? I want to put this one scripture in, Hosea 4:6 of the King James Version of the Bible, and it states that my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee, that thou shalt be no priest to me. Seeing thou hast forgotten the law of thy God, this God talking, seeing as though and I are so eager to forget God's law, listen to what God says, I will also forget thy children. So now our children are just rebellious. In their minds, they think we are against them. Someone else comes along and shows them something of fun and good time when we're telling them, no, don't do that. That's wrong. Do this. Straighten up yourself. Keep yourself straight. Then someone comes along and say, phooey. You don't have to do any of that. This is what you should be doing. This is fun. So God says, because the elders rejected knowledge, he will also forget the children. I don't want to be held accountable for any of my children being forgotten by God, because they can do anything out of my presence and I won't know about it. And when I say, what did you do? Nothing. How am I going to prove it? I can't. But you can never do anything out of the presence of God. So I don't want God to forget my children. So I put my blood on the line, my life on the line, to understand and to teach it by God's permission. No thanks to Thanksgiving. No thanks to celebrating the murder and massacre and joy and pleasure out of what was done to our Native brothers and sisters. I don't think so. In fact, I know not. I will not participate in it. Not the first one, but the second one. I will participate in it because it is an opportunity for us to learn to love family and to communicate better by God's permission. And the only way we do that is by telling the truth. So in closing, as I stated, looking up what is happening in North Dakota, I urge you to do it. In our Native American brothers and sisters, and realize that whatever is happening to them, if it is not happening to us already, it will begin to happen to us. And the reason I wanted to talk to I don't know why it unfolded like that. God does as he pleases. But I was trying to tell her all of the places in the South, particularly in South Carolina, that Native Americans had control of, that Native Americans owned, and that white folks said, I like this. I want it for myself. You have to leave. So I want to name these few places that many of you may be familiar with in South Carolina. The names of them, they still hold the Native American names. That's the insult. Do you know that the football team, the Washington Redskins, do you know that the Native Americans have been fighting in the highest court for that football team to take that name off of their jerseys? Because they are representing the Redskins, the Native Americans, after what they've done to the Native Americans. And they've been fighting until this day to get that removed. The name, everything, the Redskin. We don't want that. Do you know that a company tried to make drinks with alcohol in it and put the Gullah name on it? And the people on the Gullah Island said, no way, you're not going to do to us what you did to the Indians. No, we don't want you to put our name on anything that we don't approve of. This is how they come in and take things and make the people they take it from look like a savage. They take the name, they take the title because they have that power. We don't, but we do have God, and he has control over all. But we have to go straight through the good and the bad, in order to get to the end result of what God has intended for us. So in closing, places that I studied extensively about the Yamasee Indians in the Clarendon County Library. But here are some places in South Carolina that were once occupied by our Native American brothers and sisters. Cherokee County, the Cherokee Indians. Oconee County, the Cherokee Indians, and these are all in South Carolina. Saluda County, the Saluda Indians. Awendaw, The Siwi Indians, that's in Charleston. Cheraw, the Cheraw Indians, that's in Chesterfield. Cherokee Falls, the Cherokee Indians, that's in Cherokee County. You know of the Congaree River, Congaree Indians, that's in Richland County. Ellery, the home I love, that is in Santee, right up the street. Indians own that. Honore, Rivers of Massadines, that's in Spartanburg. Utah Springs, Orangeburg. Utahville, Orangeburg. Modoc, that's the McCormick County. That is Moneta, the daughter of an Indian chief, that's in Saluda County. Pocataligo, right down the street from us, right down at the end of the road where the bridge is, where the Pocataligo Swamp, the Yamassees Indians. And the Pocataligo goes all the way to Hampton County. Pontiac, the Minnesota and Canadian tribes, that's in Richland County. Saluda, Santee, right up the street. Those are Indians, the Santee Indians. Santee Circle, again in Berkeley and Orangeburg County, the Indians. Santuck, Union County. South Congaree, that's in Lexington. The Tamasees, the Cherokee. The Taxahaw, that's in Waxhaw, Lancaster County. Never heard of it. Tokana, that's the Cherokee. The Tucapon, that's in upstate South Carolina. And Wasaki, I heard of that, in Lee County. And again, the Yamassees in Beaufort County. And these are the rivers. You got the Ashopa River, the Catawba River, the Chattanooga River, the Combahee River, the Congaree River, the Cushaw River, the Honore River, the Katapu River, and the Kawa River, and the PD River. We know of these places. Saluda, Santee River, Stoner River, Tagula, Wando, Wateree River, and Waccamaw River. These are all places that were once occupied by our Native American brothers and sisters, and faces that you will never see again because the Caucasians have taken it over and have no intentions of giving it back. Lake Honesty, that's in Greenville County, and Lake Cowee, that's in Oconee County, and South Carolina Islands, the Edisto Islands, heard of that in Charleston, and the Cowee Islands. And the bays is the Winyah Bay, that's in Georgetown County. These are all places that were once owned by Indians who were either moved away because of the Trail of Tears, or they were annihilated, one or the other. And the Trail of Tears, again, began in 1830s, and nearly 125,000 Native Americans lived on millions of acres of land in Georgia, Tennessee, Alabama, North Carolina, Florida land, and all of these areas of the southern east United States. All were moved out, and they died along the trail. If you never read the book, read about it. So the pictures that I showed you are of our Native American brothers and sisters, and not only them, but they are standing next to Black people. And some of them have Black people in their family. And even Governor Nikki Haley has the Indian blood flowing through her veins. And she had a conflict with the now president, Donald Trump, about his views on immigration because of the Native Americans. And now she's kind of changed her views, but that's the way it goes. We get soft, and we see dollar signs sometimes, and I'm not saying that's what happened with her, but this is why I would caution anyone to be careful with this day called Thanksgiving, because everything that we think and accept in our minds and our heart, we are held accountable for prolonging those evils because we accept them. I thank you again for tuning in. This is Brother Johnny of the 19 Report, Groove 19 Promotions, Manning, South Carolina. And if you like what you hear, I pray that you will share this information over and over again. And please join up with us on YouTube so that we can pick our numbers up before they shut the whole thing down. Thank you for tuning in.